Red Bull Racing is going through one of the most crucial periods in its recent history, with the coming weeks set to be pivotal in determining not only who will occupy the cockpit alongside Max Verstappen in 2026, but also the direction of the entire organization. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko has just made statements that could radically transform the Formula One grid for the coming season. According to Marko, the evaluation of Red Bull's drivers will begin immediately after the summer break, and surprisingly, all possibilities remain open for the second seat alongside Verstappen. Yuki Tsunoda, the current occupant of the position, is going through his most difficult phase in the category, facing the longest streak without points of any Red Bull driver in Formula One history. He has gone an impressive 7 consecutive races without scoring a single point, including 4 eliminations in the first phase of qualifying in the last 8 races. These figures are absolutely alarming for someone who should be consistently competing for points. Looking at the current Formula One landscape, with McLaren and Ferrari battling Red Bull for wins, while Mercedes has resumed its regular fight for podiums, a driver unable to reach the point zone represents a monumental strategic obstacle. While Verstappen persists in extracting maximum performance from a car that is clearly no longer supreme, Tsunoda is missing precious opportunities that could prove decisive in the Constructors' Championship. However, here comes the first twist in this narrative. Despite his disastrous results, Tsunoda managed to get within 0.2 of Verstappen in Hungarian qualifying, a performance that earned him recognition from both Marko and the new team leader, Laurent Mekies. This proximity to the 4-time world champion raises an essential question. Does the problem lie with the driver or the equipment? And even more importantly, does Tsunoda deserve another chance? The scenario becomes even more complicated when we examine the other contenders in the race. Liam Lawson, who gave way to Tsunoda after the Chinese Grand Prix, showed flashes of speed during his time with Red Bull and has now returned to Racing Bulls. The New Zealander has shown consistency with his new team, a trait that could positively influence his evaluation. At the same time, young Isaac Hadjar is also being considered as a potential successor. The French Algerian symbolizes the new wave of talent that Red Bull has been cultivating. 3 competitors, 1 opportunity, and a choice that could determine Red Bull's future in the coming years. However, Marko has clarified the team's expectations for whoever takes the second seat. In his words, whoever drives alongside Max must cease all attempts to surpass him. The selected driver needs to focus on getting the best out of himself and the organization, because according to the 82-year-old Austrian, it is currently impractical to beat Verstappen. A statement that sounds almost like a prior capitulation, but also exposes the harsh reality of contemporary Formula One. This Red Bull philosophy is intriguing and controversial at the same time. From one perspective, it makes perfect sense to recognize that Verstappen operates on a different level and that trying to compete directly with him could compromise the team's overall result. From another angle, this mindset could create an environment where the second driver settles for a secondary role, losing the thirst for victory that characterizes great champions. And speaking of Max Verstappen, we come to the most captivating aspect of this whole story. Red Bull's new boss, Laurent Mekies, who took over in July after Christian Horner left the team after 2 decades, is experiencing a real revelation as he works closely with the Dutchman. And his findings are genuinely impressive. Mekies has publicly admitted that he was stunned by the level of dedication and passion for the sport that Verstappen shows behind the scenes. According to the 48-year-old Frenchman, there is a Max Verstappen away from the track that few people know, and this combination of natural talent and total devotion is what makes the 4-time champion unique and unbeatable. It's not just the speed we see on Sunday, but all the effort and preparation that goes on away from the spotlight. Most notable is how Verstappen maintains his focus and composure even in a season where his chances of winning a 5th consecutive title have all but vanished. Mekies emphasized the complete absence of concessions in the Dutchman's methodology, whether in favorable or unfavorable moments, and the degree of preparation before and after each race. For someone who has already achieved everything in Formula One, Verstappen persists in working as if it were his inaugural season. This revelation from Macias allows us to understand why finding the ideal teammate for Verstappen has been so challenging. It's not just about finding someone who is fast, but someone who shares this same obsession with excellence, this same insatiable hunger to constantly improve. It's a mindset that few drivers on the grid possess, and this may explain why names such as Daniel Ricciardo and Sergio Pérez eventually left the team. The situation becomes even more complex when we consider the broader context of the organization. Red Bull is preparing to part ways with Honda after the final 10 races of the season, becoming its own power unit supplier from 2026. The Japanese manufacturer, which has propelled the Austrian team to unimaginable achievements in recent years, has also been Tsunoda's main sponsor since 2016. Marco revealed that talks are already underway between Honda and Red Bull about Tsunoda's future for 2026, adding another political dimension to the whole equation. Honda will move to Aston Martin next season, but its interest in keeping Tsunoda in Formula One could influence Red Bull's decisions. Will technical and political considerations prevail over pure sporting performance? The timing of this decision could not be more critical. We are talking about a team that needs to reinvent itself technically with a new power unit, maintain its competitiveness in the most balanced environment Formula One has seen in decades, and simultaneously find someone capable of working productively alongside the best driver in the category. It is a complex equation that transcends simple speed on the track. The upcoming summer break will be decisive. Marco and Macias will have a few weeks to examine data, talk to drivers, evaluate each candidate's performance, and make a decision that could shape the next few years for Red Bull. Tsunoda will have this period to reflect on his mistakes and mentally prepare for what could be his last chance on the main team. Lawson and Hadjar, meanwhile, will need to demonstrate that they are ready to make the leap to the biggest stage in the sport. Formula One in 2026 promises to be completely different, with revamped technical regulations, new partnerships between teams and suppliers, and a more competitive grid than ever before. In this scenario, having the right teammate for Verstappen could mean the difference between continuing to dominate or becoming just another team in the fight. Red Bull recognizes this, which is why this decision carries a weight that transcends a simple change of drivers. What we are seeing here is not just a change of teammate, but a complete redefining of Red Bull's strategy for the coming years. A choice that could determine whether Max Verstappen will have the tools he needs to pursue more titles or face years of frustration with inferior equipment. The European summer has never been so intense for Red Bull Racing's management.